YouTube Nation. Mayfit TV, aka me TV, aka the bad guy in gaming is back. And you know what? After everything I've seen yesterday, you best believe I was going to make a video on this. Not to mention all the fans that you've been asking me to do this video. I was supposed to do a sports video first, but after all this information that came out yesterday, you know I had to do the game video first. I'll put it like this, all right? The fact is, this is going downhill as fast as possible. And you know, since EA and Microsoft has had a partnership, now I'm going to have to call them EA Soft, just like Ubisoft. You know what I mean? No disrespect to NC Soft, but you know what? I will talk about in a little bit. So let's first get started. Thank you, fans, for sending me all the information. We'll get started with EA Soft. Any bullshit. Let's start this, man. Let's get into this. I'm feeling real good today. I don't know how y'all feeling. I know y'all a little bit mad over, E3, but we're going to do it. We feeling good. I'm feeling great. Okay? Let's go. Let's go. Let's go. Anyway, EA wants to stop being hated. That's right. They want to stop being hated by the consumer. Look, I'll put it like this because they're talking about, ever since, them winning worst company in America for 2 years straight, they want to stop being hated. Well, if you want to stop being hated, change your ways. That's what you're failing to realize, EA. You have a lot to fix. And it's not just on the gaming front. It's your behavior and your business practices. And it seems like you're still not listening because at E3, you brought out, not put it like this, NBA Live 14 already is going to go down. It's going to crash and burn. I understand people are tired of 2K because of everything that they're pulling, but there's no reason that you need to bring out Kyrie Irving to represent NBA, for Live 14, okay? Now, I'll put it like this. We've seen this with 2K when they brought out Kobe, and that didn't work out well, all right? But don't sit here and tell me that Kyrie Irving sat with EA developers every day and, consult them on how this is supposed to go. No, they didn't, all right? He didn't consult anything. So for you to bring him out as the face, I understand he'll probably be, since you brought him out, he'll more likely be the guy on the front of the cover. I don't care, all right? But the fact is, you brought him out here for nothing. And you made him look like, he makes himself look like a fool. He got paid, so he's probably not too embarrassed, but it's embarrassing, all right? And EA, you embarrassed yourselves. I told you before, all right? Because this is not just about trashing EA all the time. I told you before, if you need help with things, especially when it comes to basketball, you can come to yours truly, all right? And I will sit down with you guys, with you developers, talk to a person who plays almost every damn day. Come on, all right? And you're still not doing it right. Still, you have to realize that video game basketball does not equate to real-life basketball, and it never will, no matter how much you try to simulate it. But I will put it like this. You can somewhat have some realism in your games. NBA Live has they pretty much they tried to come out with Live twice now, and it crashed and burned, and before that was very arcadey. We know that, all right? So if they're going for realism this time, you really need to dig deep. You need to bring your developers down into places where people actually ball. All right, and see how they're playing and take notes, man. That's what you need to do. You need to get out amongst the people instead of keeping them huddled in a room trying to develop things and say, okay, well, we're just going to go by, like 2K does, we're just going to go by what we see on TV and NBA, and that's it, and just try to duplicate the, the presentation. It doesn't work that way. That's not how basketball... Don't get me started, man. All right, EA, but that's not all. Then you want to come out and bring out Titanfall, Titanfall. All right, you know what? I got a little bone to pick with Titanfall, all right? Because a lot of people are like, ooh, this looks beautiful, this looks pretty. Let's get started with something, all right? For years, gamers trashed Armor Core. For years, gamers trashed Chrome Hounds. For years, gamers trashed Front Mission. But let me get this straight. All of a sudden, we can sit here and we can praise Titanfall. Why? Because it's FPS? Is that why? Because we just have another duplicate FPS? I am so sick and tired of this. Seriously, if you're going to praise Titanfall, go back and look at other mech games and see just how great they were. It's making you look like a hypocrite right now. It really is. Titanfall is nothing new. We have seen it before. Maybe not to that extent graphically, but it doesn't matter. If that's what you're all worried about, is just graphically, and I'll talk about that later, all right, then, you shouldn't even be thinking about Titanfall. You should be looking into, once again, you should be looking into PC. You just should. Anyways, let's keep on moving, because I want to talk about Microsoft. Yeah, after everything that we have seen, was reported, they confirmed pretty much everything we thought, or that was reported after they said it wasn't true. And I'm going to get into this because it says, Microsoft says, and this is a shot to you fans, Microsoft says gamers will buy everything, including the Xbox One. So they just think that you're going to buy everything. If they throw it out there, you're going to buy it. That's what they're telling you. That means they have no respect for you at all. And this is for all the people who love Microsoft too. All right? They don't respect you. What type of company has this type of arrogance where they can say something like that and think that they can keep a fan base? I'm just wondering. But yet, I'm sure there's some people out there who will still kiss their ass because that's what they do best. It's sickening to see that they would say something like that and think that, oh, if we just throw it out, we control everything. No, the consumer controls it. I should say, yeah, trolls it, right? Yeah, right? Controls it. It's that simple. And if you don't like that, well, then it's too bad, because that's how things work. Supply and demand. That's how business works. It's not, we're just going to make something and you're going to like it, whether you're going to take it and like it, whether you like it or not. It doesn't work that way. It really doesn't. Especially when you're talking about products. There's a reason why, like I said, we've had consumer reports. We have all these types of things where consumers can complain when they don't like something. All right? And it's not just whining. It's amazing how they just go to extremes. You're whining, you're complaining, you're crying. That's their way of trying to pretty much belittle you from the facts that you really have. That's all it is. And I'll talk about that a little bit later, too. Now, I do want to move on because fans are not happy with the Xbox One. So for Microsoft to say something like this, and then a report comes out that fans really aren't happy, you really need to start listening to the fans, Microsoft. You do, because your system right now is going. It's burning, and you know what? If you don't change your ways, I will be gladly to watch this burn. Gladly. You have to be kidding me now. Now, what I'm getting ready to talk about is interesting because here's some facts. There was a survey that was taken, and out of 400 gamers, 14 of them said that they were okay with the Xbox One's always online or check-in for 24 hours a day. That's crazy. 14. That means there's 14 idiots out there out of 400 that said that it was okay. Come on, stop that. You have to understand that gamers are smartening up, and this is a good thing, all right? The companies cannot just push you over anymore. I'll talk about that a little bit later, too, all right? Just a little bit later. But I do want to get into this because Microsoft says that DRM has a lot of advantages on, pretty much on their Xbox One. Yeah, I'm sure it does. Advantages for them. It doesn't give us anything. It really doesn't. But that's their way of trying to spin everything and trying to make it to a positive, because that's what their PR is supposed to do. All right? But if you're smart enough, you can see this. You know what's coming. It's really this simple. But keep going. All right? Because Microsoft is now blaming the gaming media for consumer rage. So let me get this straight, Microsoft. It's not what you implemented. No. That's not the problem. It's not your comments towards fans or, and all the details that's going into this system. No, that's not the problem. It's the gaming media, huh? So they're just, all of a sudden coming up and starting this, witch hunt. Is that what you're saying? Why don't you take some responsibility? Seriously, no one told you to implement this into your system. And I want to talk about this a little bit more because Microsoft, they keep denying it, but check this out. They deny that they hired marketers to vote cheat negative Xbox One Reddit threads. That's right. Now, apparently, like I said, all the links will be in the info bar for you guys and girls. But understand that there was a lot of suspicious activity going on Reddit, and a lot of accounts were deleted. That's right. A lot of them. So, like I said, it'll be in the info bar for you guys. And also, Major Nelson backtracks for MS and says that the reports are inaccurate about the always online and things like that. And he's just going on, look. All right, like I said, these are paid guys. They are going to try to spin this as much as possible. And as of yesterday, we know that Microsoft pretty much confirmed, if you've been reading articles, everything that we thought. At E3, they didn't even address the problem. All right, they just said, we're just going to throw out a bunch of games, a bunch of pretty games, and hopefully that you will forget about it. That's what they tried to do. But guess what? No one's forgetting about this. There's been a couple of idiots out there on Twitter who have, shut up and take my money. How about this? Why don't you just shut up? Because you give us all a bad name when you say stuff like that. You really do. And there's other people who say, no, it's good to see that they got back the games. No, they didn't. They're just showcasing a little bit to you so that you can forget all the bad stuff. And if that's all it takes, what, an hour, 2-hour conference? If that's all it takes to get you to forget everything that we've heard in the previous weeks, there's something wrong with you. There really is. Stay focused. But we keep going. Because Xbox development began in 2010, and this is why I said earlier I wanted to bring this up about consumer rage and implementing things. Because in 2010, we all know that's when all the complaints really started happening when it came to online passes and and DRMs and restrictions, and we needed more money and stuff like that. So it began in 2010. That means now that we are in 2013, you've had 3 years to listen to gamers, Microsoft, and you have not listened apparently. You're following the footsteps that other people like EA started with the online pass. And you're trying to implement all these securities now to, get you the best results. But what you're failing to realize is that you are alienating a lot of fans doing this. And you're not understanding it seems. And I want to talk about this, because I never thought that gaming would become a class issue. Some of you, you guys and girls have messaged me talking about this. It's become a class issue now. It hasn't been, back then gaming was no matter what culture you got together and you played, you learned, you learned about each other. If, you played games, you became friends and you learned about stuff. Now it's either you're rich or you're poor. That's what it comes down to, because there's no middle ground anymore, and there's no gray area anymore when it comes to, consoles and companies. It's not. It's either you can afford the top dollar stuff because that's what they want to do, or you can't. Whether it's online connection or games or DLC or console prices or whatever the case may be. But yet, people still think that this is okay, and it's not. This is a shell of what gaming used to be. And it's sad that we have to see this happen. Granted, we can start taking things back, and we have started taking things back, which I'm proud to sit here and say today, which is making me happy to say that it's happening. But like I said, for all these fanboys and everything, you know how this goes. But let's keep going. Let's keep going. This is very interesting. Phil Harrison says that nobody has been more committed to indie games or indie developers than Microsoft. Really, MS?
What's up, everybody? Damon here with IGN News. In a recent article at Wired, 2 prominent independent game developers spoke out about their disappointing experiences working with Microsoft. Jonathan Blow, the developer of Braid and the upcoming PlayStation 4 game The Witness, says, quote, Microsoft treats independent developers very badly, adding that the company, quote, puts you through as much pain as you will endure in order to extract whatever they feel like this week.
Tell me some more lies, Microsoft. I mean, seriously, you've been caught. Bottom line. But let's keep going. Keep going, because the Xbox One, check this out, is region locked, and this is a problem for gamers in other regions. Especially some of you who contacted me via Twitter talking about the pricing of the Xbox One and how it's going to affect you, especially in Australia. And I've talked about this months ago, how game companies, whether it's console or their software, hardware, whatever, they need to adjust their prices when it comes to the region because of their taxes. But it seems like they're not listening. Microsoft, you've been doing this since 2010. I'm sure you have a lot of statistical research. I'm sure you've done all the, fact checking and everything when it comes to this. Why haven't you adjusted the prices? You know how it is over there, and yet you still don't care. But you're supposed to be for the gamer, right? Right? Yeah. For the consumer. Anyways, I want to keep moving on because we're going to get past the consumer part, the little guy that they think you are, because they're taking their talents to Hollywood at this point. They're taking the Xbox One to Hollywood. Now, we talked about this before, about how they're pretty much getting buddy-buddy with the MPAA and also the government as well. We'll talk about that a little bit later, all right? But they're taking their talents to Hollywood, and they're trying to get all these TV companies and everything all in when it comes to Xbox. That's what it comes down to. So even though they're still trying to sell you games, because we saw the first conference was all TV. It was TV and sports. That's all it was. And now they're trying to throw games. Silently, they're just moving along and saying, hey, we're going to take this to Hollywood and we're going to try to get all these people on board, which, as you know, has more restrictions. The more company ties that they make, the stronger they become. That's what it comes down to. I can only imagine what the terms of service for this system is going to look like, or everything that you download. I mean, I forgot. You don't own the system, you don't own any software, you don't own anything digitally, you don't own anything with this system. But yet, that's okay, because you're willing to accept it. And if not, then they'll just drag you kicking and screaming into the next generation with this. That's funny. But I do want to move on a little bit to the government. I said that because the government wants a backdoor to your online services. Now, for those who don't know, the president not too long ago signed a bill that, that the government can watch everything that you do on your cell phone. They can look at your emails. They don't need any type of, how can I put this, any type of reason to look for this stuff. All right? They don't. They can just do whatever they want. And it's sad that we're seeing this now, but consumers, this is what you need to do if you do not like this, because the government's trying to muscle in. And for those who have not seen all the reports politics-wise fighting about this, I would say, kids, let your parents know that this is what's going on with talk to your providers, your cell phone, your cable providers, because it's going to move on, because like I said, Verizon, they just had a backlash where they were going to make a cable box. I reported this not too long ago. Made a cable box that was going to be able to look at you. So now we have video game systems watching you, because you can't turn off, the Kinect, but you can turn off the Kinect camera, but the microphone will still be on, always on. How's that work? But let's keep going. So you got your cable boxes, you have your cell phones tracking you, you have your video game systems tracking you. They can look at your email. The government wants way too much power. You have zero privacy. And the thing is, there's a lot of laws being broken here, and yet a lot of people aren't fighting this. But then again, it does fly under the radar at times. So please, if you're an adult, you can make this choice and feel as though it's okay if that's what you want to do. But if you're a child and you don't like this, then please, let your parents know what's going on. That's simple. Now, I do want to go back to the regions, because I had said, Australia's having problems. Check this out. When it comes to the Xbox One, Australian and German officials consider Xbox One is a twisted nightmare and nothing more than a monitoring device under the guise of a gaming console. That's right. So Australia and Germany are making these claims. So Microsoft, obviously, there is a problem, especially when it comes to other regions. They are not very comfortable with this. What they're asking you to do, if you're going to do this, you have to let people know. Flat out. I mean, so that means in your advertising, you should have it in big bold words, not in small little fine print. You have to really let the consumer know. Because as we all know, consumers don't read a lot of this type of stuff. We know this. So they don't know what they're getting themselves into. And it's funny that we're seeing all this, because you have to think. You have to really ask yourself, when you turn on your video game system and you want to play online, those terms of service come up and that contract comes up. Number one, are you reading it all? All right? 9 times out of 10, consumers don't. Number two, is it really worth just agreeing to it and thinking that that is a bound contract because you agreed to it? Now, we've seen a number of lawsuits, not too long ago when it came to Sony and other companies where they were fighting, back and forth about this in court about if it's actual a contract that can hold you. And if you're underage, does it still matter? Can they still enforce it? See, this is the problem that we're having right now. So we're going to move on. All right. Phil Spencer suggests you buy an Xbox One, but if you want to play your old games and you want to keep your old Xbox Live games, that you keep your 360. That's right, because nothing is pretty much transferable over to the Xbox One. So that's what he suggests. So he wants you to keep both of them. And for those who know, the redesign for the Xbox 360 right now looks like the Xbox One. So that should tell you something. Visual stimulation is trying to push people into buying an Xbox One. And then I'm sure during the holiday season you're going to have some, clueless parents who buy the wrong one and do buy the Xbox One instead of 360 because they almost look identical. But we're going to keep going, okay? That's right. I know I'm going to say keep going because we're just going to run through this. Oh, this is lovely. All right. Xbox One developers will have a monthly gamerscore cap on new achievements. Developers! All right? They can only put out a certain amount of achievements. First off, we don't need achievements. We don't. It has ruined gaming. Achievements and trophies, whatever. It's ruined gaming. It has. All right? There's rumors now that when you watch TV on the Xbox One, you'll get an achievement for it. They want to keep you watching on their networks all the time since they put in millions of dollars into their networks. This is what this is all about. And they're going to reward you. This is the way of saying, hey, stupid, thanks for watching. You get this trophy, this shiny little thing that has no merit, has no weight to it. But yet, that's what they're going to do. They want to make you, at the lowest common denominator, feel appreciated. You want to feel appreciated? Treat your gamers with respect, Microsoft. That's all you got to do. But you don't want to do that. No. You want to act like they're like circus ponies, Just treat them how you want. No, here, take this. Take these little scraps. You've got to be kidding me. To make themselves feel better about themselves. That's horrible. That's horrible. And that's not all. Because the Xbox One will have a day one achievement. That's right. If you pre-order the Xbox One, you will get a day one achievement. You've got to be kidding me. I mean, can you... You can't make this up. You just can't. All right? This is ridiculous. And I'm shocked to see so many gamers are just like, well, you know what? After all this information, I'm still going to buy an Xbox One. You're part of the problem. You really are. That goes to anybody. You were part of the problem. Knowing all of this, you were part of the problem. Now, if Microsoft comes out of nowhere and says, you know what, we're going to change our ways, we're going to get rid of all this stuff. You know what? I would still hold some malice towards them due to the fact that you shouldn't have put it in the first place, and that's what you think about consumers. This is what you really think about them. But I understand that you change your stuff, you know, and that people want to buy it then. That's fine. I don't have a problem with that. But the fact that you're staying intact with this and just saying, hey, you know, this is what you'll get, deal with it. When people say deal with it, you know what I say? Fuck you. I don't have to deal with it. I just won't buy it. Like I said before, I'm not going to buy it. I don't care. It's that simple. But this information is vital to people, and it needs to be said. But yet, when you say that, then you're just a hater and all this other... Please, save your immature insults for people who don't know what they're talking about. Alright? I've been in this game too long to be doing this, man. Alright? So it really doesn't matter. Let's keep moving on, alright? Because look, MS is paying, and this is what's been going on as of late. They were paying third-party publishers to not show PS4 games at E3. Now, a lot of you people have sent me this and said it was a rumor, and Microsoft not too long ago said that, you know, they weren't doing this. But I do find it funny that on Spike TV, because that's why I was watching the E3 conference, that they only showed Microsoft and EA, which they're partnered with. I don't know. It just seems very wrong to do. Like, if you're going to do E3, then cover all of it. And, you know, you can only take, you know, certain parts of it. You know, for, you know, I'll put it like this. You should take it seriously, but when certain comments are said, you take it with a grain of salt. Come on now. You know how this goes, and you know how the media is, especially with game trailers. But before I get started on game trailers, Sony did have something to say about Microsoft's used game policy.
This is how you share your games on PS4. Thanks.
PlayStation.
That is some good old-fashioned trolling there, but you know what? It's also the truth. And here's the thing, because a lot of people, since they decided to drop all the, you know, online, you know, always online, no DRM, things like that, because Sony came out and said that, I would like to hear their policy still on the third-party developers always online, if they're still going to keep that intact or not. So I'm a little skeptical about it, but I will put it like this. Sony did a good job by dropping this. But you don't praise Sony for this. No, don't go out and start looking at corporations. No, this took the gamers to do this. Because gamers are the ones who made this campaign for no DRM on the PS4. They did this. Sony was going to go ahead with it until consumers stepped up and said, no, we will not have this. And then he saw that when Microsoft crashed and burned with it, and Sony said, wait a minute, you know, the consumers, the gamers, they mean business. That's what they did. And they said, we have to change this. This is not going to work. And Sony changed it. That's what they did. You don't praise Sony for that, for acknowledging it. No, they're supposed to acknowledge you. You're the consumer, all right? You don't praise them, but you praise the community on this one. This is a score one for the gamers on this one. And you know what? Even though the gamers really made a difference, I've been telling you time and time again, if you get enough people together for a cause and you do it the right way, you can change things. People don't want to hear that, though. And if you don't believe me, they think that we're all slaves and that we should just give in because they have no heart. It's pretty sad that we have still a bunch of spineless bitches in our community. Because that's all it is, all right? You can't sit here and tell me that anybody would think it's okay to just lay down and take it from a company, all right? They don't know your name. You're quick to praise them. They don't know you. All right, but you're so quick to jump all over the person who's just giving you the links to everything, as opposed to the companies who are doing these things. You cannot come to me and yell at me for being mad at a problem in the game that you also have a problem with in the game, and yet you don't ever say anything to them. You don't address them. What are you, scared? What is the point? I don't get this. I don't understand the cowardice that goes on around here. But I guess I'll never understand that. These are the same people also who never show their face on camera, never say, whatever, it doesn't matter. Anyways, let's move on, okay? Because the PS4 will cost $399, that we know so far. We'll see what happens. Of course, this is not add-ons and, you know, bundles and stuff. We'll see what happens in the future with the PS4. However, there are things that need to be taken care of because the PS4 has said that the PS4 is made easier for developers so that they'll make games faster, you know, more accessible and a better high quality grade. Now, we talked about this before about the way the architecture of the PS3 was and that developers were just too lazy to figure it out. That's what it was. They didn't want to learn it. And we saw developers who took their time and learned it and they made beautiful games. So it has nothing to do with the actual architecture of the PS3. It's actually developers who were lazy, so Sony had to dumb it down. For this to be next generation, they had to dumb down things for developers. That's pretty sad. Especially for the things that we've seen with Call of Duty not too long ago. You know, if those who didn't see the video, it's hilarious. About how they were saying how it's so next generation, is so innovative, that when you're swimming, the fish move out of the way. And then we saw the video where in Mario 64, Mario was swimming and the fish moved out of the way from him. It goes to show you that some of these companies, they try so hard to sell you on stuff that they forget gaming history. If they even know gaming history. You know, it really looks bad for when it comes to Call of Duty and the developers right now. They're taking a lot of backlash for that. Not to mention ghosts. Don't get me started. All right, but I do want to move on. The PS Plus, and we have to talk about this. PS Plus is required for the PS4 online play. That's right, is required. You cannot play games online unless you have PS Plus, meaning you have to pay for online. Now, look. I have a problem with this, all right? Some people are trying to push this aside and saying it's not that big of a deal compared to Microsoft. You cannot do the comparisons, all right? You're trying to do the lesser of two evils and justify doing this. Understand this. When Sony came out with online free, they came out and said it should stay free because this is how gaming is supposed to be. They should not have to pay for games because you're paying for peer-to-peer. That's what you're doing. You already have that. That's what you're paying for, all right? That has nothing to do with dedicated servers or whatever. That has nothing to do with it. We're talking about what you have right now in your home. You're paying for peer-to-peer. Then PS Plus came along, and they had to adjust prices, and actually it made the games higher, as opposed to PS Plus owners, as we know, were complaining that they weren't getting their money's worth for paying for it. So they had to raise the prices. Remember, games, digital games, were $9.99. That's what they were. PS Plus came along, they raised the price to $14.99, and then said, PS Plus owners, you'll get it for a discount to make them feel better. That's what they did, all right? Let's get that straight. Now, I want to talk about this because Sony said that PS Plus was supposed to be optional. That's all it was supposed to be. Because gamers should still play online for free. That's what they were saying. Now with the PS4, they want you to pay, period. Alright? Now I know a lot of people are saying, you know, oh, you're only paying X amount of dollars a month. It doesn't matter. Sony is going back on their word. They're seeing how much money Microsoft made. That's what it was for the network. And now they want a piece of that. That's what it comes down to. Now, I would say gamers, if you really have a problem with this, just like you did with the no DRM, you can do this for the no PS Plus, you know, fee. You can do this. But yet, I'm sure people will just take this in stride as opposed to keep looking at Microsoft and saying, well, look at all the bad things here. This is not that big of a deal. It's a justification. That's all it is. You have to look at it for what it is. You take every case by itself. You don't look at Microsoft and compare that to Microsoft. That would be wrong. All right? Because Microsoft that's their thing. This is Sony's thing. That's simple. That's how you're supposed to look at it. Now, I do want to move on about some of these games because Killer Instinct. My God, the Killer Instinct. Look, when I saw Killer Instinct, I said to myself, okay, Killer Instinct fans, I don't have a problem that much with the actual character design or the layout of it. Okay, but then when I started watching, I'm like, this doesn't remind me much of Killer Instinct. It really doesn't. And as we all saw at the press conference, all of a sudden, Microsoft, they did this trash-talking press conference. It made no sense. And this is what happened at the press conference.
Good luck, Ashton. Come on, Ashton, bring it.
Whoever thought it was a good idea that I play against a producer is gonna get it.
Come on, you gotta practice before you get on stage in front of millions of people.
I can't even block correctly, and you're too fast.
There we go. Just let it happen, it'll be over soon.
You have a fight stick.
One more. Wow, you like those?
I don't like this.
Microsoft, please stop making this push. There's so many problems with that video. All right, should we even start about the level of competition that's going on there? She doesn't even want to play the game. She doesn't know how to play the game. You got a guy who's been practicing, and he says to her, all right, maybe you should have practiced in front of all these people. So he's been practicing, and she hasn't. Number one. Number two, you tell her just to, don't worry, it'll all be over soon. Do you know how many people have already said that comment is comparable to rape? All right, especially what's going on in this industry. You say something like that. Now, people in the fighting game community, you know and I know that's not how he meant it, but you know how people are going to react. I can see why people would react that way. He didn't mean it that way, but I can see why people would. All right, this is just one of those things where they just trash talk and people just take it out, blow it out of proportion. We've already seen all types of people come out on Twitter and say it's sexist. This is what we're trying to get rid of in the gaming industry. And what do you want me to say? Seriously, I mean, apparently, as a guy, I'm not allowed to say anything. Apparently, and you know what? I'll do a video about that in the future, because that's apparently how feminists or people, who support this type of, behavior in the gaming industry, that, the whole women empowerment thing. Yeah, apparently I'm just a woman-hating man, apparently. After all the times, and you women gamers who watch me, all the times I have sat here and defended and supported you. And yet that's how I'm labeled, huh? Okay, I see how it goes. You know what? Killer Instinct also will be a free-to-play game, right? With one character. That's right, you'll play as one character, and then you have to pay for the rest. You gotta be kidding me. Microsoft, just go away, man. Seriously, just go away. I'm gonna move on. Alright? Japanese gamers, gotta talk to you for a minute. Alright? Because, for those who don't know, Mirror's Edge was debuted, a new Mirror's Edge, and Japanese gamers have a problem with the character again. That's right. Again, there's a number of complaints. There's a link in the info bar. A number of complaints about it, about the look of the character. And you know what? This is not going to go away anytime soon. Seriously, it's just not at this point. And we've seen characters that look worse, but they're still going to bring up this debate. It's been how many years? I've covered that before. And this has to go away. It has to. Just stop. All right, but they also say that Dragon's Age, the new Dragon's Age also looks the same when it comes to their character design, when it comes to their faces and everything. So that is very interesting, to hear about. But the link will be in the info bar for you people to read. Now, also, some good news. Mega Man is joining Super Smash Bros. We just talked about this not too long ago. Or it was on the Brotherhood of Gaming. Was it the, I'm going to call it the pregame for E3, what we saw. And we talked about, Mega Man and Nintendo and how they, got together and how, that deal was cut. But it seems like they've come back, to a terms that Mega Man can be back, in Super Smash Bros. Like he was originally supposed to be. Now, I want to move on because, for those who don't know, the PS4 games are in development. There will be 30 PS4 games in development. 20 will be out in the first year, and 12 are new IPs. Now, I will put it like this. I was not sold on a lot of those games. Just graphically, graphics. I'm getting tired of graphics. All right, Killzone, not sold on it. The new Infamous, I'm very disappointed in new Infamous, but we'll see what happens in the long run, okay? Drake will be back, so we'll see what happens with Drake, after Uncharted 3. We'll see. All right, now I want to move on because we got to talk about frauds because, as of late, last time I was called a fraud for quite a number of reasons. It's very funny to see because these are, like I said, these are people who never show their face. But let's talk about frauds real quick, okay? Ubisoft next generation racing game will be always online, and guess what? Nobody cares. Ubisoft doesn't matter. I'll say Ubisoft, just for technical terms for you guys. All right. Now, Ubisoft CEO comes out and says that used games are good for the industry. That's right. This is the same Ubisoft that was quick to adapt the online pass. This is the same Ubisoft that said that gamers are pirates. You cannot sit here and tell me all of a sudden you're just going to flip-flop and say that used games are good for the industry because EA all of a sudden got rid of their online pass and that Microsoft is taking a hit when it comes to all these restrictions. Don't give me this. Ubisoft, you should be ashamed of yourself. Watch Dogs looks good, though. It does. I'll give you that. But talking about more frauds, let's talk about Jeff Knightley because during E3, he came out after he saw Titanfall, said it was one of the best, his favorite game of E3, when the conference had just started pretty much.
It's awesome, man. It's already one of my favorite games of E3. I cannot wait to see more of it. Titanfall at E3, Vince. Congratulations on the announcement. Appreciate it. Thanks.
Even Jeff wasn't sold on that comment, to be quite honest. If you look, I'm at the end. It goes to show you that you didn't even see the entire conference of E3 and you're already saying, this is my favorite game or one of my favorite games. You don't know what's coming down the pipe, but yet you're going to make this type of comment. This is the problem when it comes to people overhyping things. We've seen how this goes. And it's funny because I said this on Twitter and apparently somebody went off on, on Jeff Knightley and Michael Pachter. You have to understand, Spike TV is part of Game Trailers. Game Trailers was making sure that all their people that they, support or they have contracted with were on the little ticker. That's right. That means Michael Pachter, you had Annoyed Gamer. It was coming down, down the little ticker on Spike TV, and they were all getting airtime, especially Michael Pachter. Now, I want to talk about this because when someone actually questioned and actually told it how it was to Michael Pachter and Jeff Knightley on Twitter, Michael Pachter acts like this. When it comes down to it, they can't take the truth. Seriously, Michael Packer, why didn't you take that time to explain to that gamer, if you feel he's wrong or she is wrong, to explain how things work? Or why, how about this, why every type of prediction you've made has been pretty much wrong? Why would you explain that? How do you still have a job? And Game Trailers, let me ask you something, all right? This is the person who represents your website. This is what they tell them. Oh, go get a life. You don't know that person. You know that person's like to say something like that. All right? It's that simple. The person came up with the truth. I understand that person was trolling, but they weren't. They brought quite the truth with them, and you're going to sit there and treat them like that? Seriously, Michael Packer, why are you in this industry? I've told people before, this person should not be listened to, and yet, like I said, every idiot has a following, even if you want to call me one. Everyone has a following, no matter how wrong they are. But yet, it seems like nobody wants to take these people down. The best thing that you can do to these people is ignore them. Don't view them. Don't listen to them. That's the best thing you can do. But yet people will still go and fight or say, I believe every word you say because you're great. You gotta be kidding me. Pay attention, focus, and think about what's being said. And look at things objectively. Even if you like something, look at it objectively first. Even if it's me, look at it objectively first. So it goes to show you that I'm not showing any bias, but apparently if you tell the truth to Michael Packer, he has to go off on Twitter. But yet, we're supposed to respect him as a professional. You know what? I'm done. This is ridiculous. But you know what? Not gonna ruin my day. This is actually pretty good. I'm pretty happy with this. I'll talk to y'all later. Y'all be safe. Something tells me I'm gonna do another video on this because it's not over yet. E3's not done. We'll get into more. I know I didn't talk about a lot of games like Kingdom Hearts and things like that. I'll get into that later. Talk to y'all later. Y'all be safe. I'm out.